Hello everyone and welcome to Clarity 16.2.3 Feature Supportability Training. I am Vib Mehrotra, and as part of this section we will be talking about the enhancements to Clarity Concierge. As part of this release, we are enhancing the existing Clarity Concierge capability and also introducing a new one. In the previous release of Clarity, which is 16.2.2, we had provided the capability to essentially generate text within any data field within Clarity itself. As part of this release, we are enhancing that data generation to now support parent context information when trying to generate the text for a sub-object instance. In addition, we are also providing a new capability for Clarity Concierge where if there is a text that is already populated in a RTF field or a rich text field, then the Clarity Concierge can grade that content for you and provide you information on what is good and what can be improved in that existing context. And that grading will be done using a specific methodology that you can define. The reason this is important is because customers that have started to using the data generation as part of Clarity Concierge have asked us that when they're generating it for a sub-object, they want to ensure that it's not general information that is getting generated, but it is context sensitive related to their parent. For example, if they're generating some context for task, they want to make sure that the parent of that task, that information is also passed so that the data that is generated is context sensitive. And secondly, customers that already have data populated in Clarity, instead of going and changing all of that to make it more relevant, they can now use the AI, or they can use Clarity Concierge to essentially grade and provide guidance as to how that data quality could be improved for them. So with that, let's jump into the product and see how this functionality would work. So first, I'm going to go straight into our modern UX administration. So here I am in Clarity 16.2.3. I am in modern UX, and under administration, I can see I have my Clarity Concierge available. When I navigate inside, I can see that I've already pre-configured quite a few objects and attributes. That functionality was available in the last release. But in this release, what we've done is now we've added this new action mode. Action mode is what will allow you to define what actions could be performed against the specific attribute within the object. So like in this example, I have business capability, which is my object, and inside of that I have an attribute called lean canvas business case. When I look at the action mode, by double clicking on it, it is a multi-value lookup, which means I can define one or multiple actions for that specific attribute, and I've defined generate and revise. So that's a change that is in this release. That in the previous release, when you define an attribute, the only actions you could do was to generate and revise, or came automatically with it. Starting this release, we've separated that two out, that you can generate or revise or do both for a specific attribute. The third action that is available is grade. Also, when you are defining for a specific sub-object, you can define the same action for it, and then based on the action, the prompt is configured to have the necessary information. So let's look at for the sub-object one first. So in this case, I have task as my sub-object, and the attribute is requirement. It's configured for grading and revision. When I go inside, I can see that the prompt for this specific one, because it is a sub-object, is now changed to include the parent information. So it's telling me that my prompt is going to be generate a requirements, which is the attribute in the task, for the task, which is the object itself, called, and whatever is the name of the task, within an investment called the name, and the name will be that my parent's name, using the context, and then this is the same rich text value that I can pass to my prompt itself. So that's the change where now we've added the parent information as part of the context for subobject. If I go back out and I look at the object itself, the master object, where I've defined an attribute and its AI action, that prompt, as you can see, has the same for generate so and so for my object called so and so, and then the context itself. It does not have any parent information. Going back out, if I now look at the grade, so for the same object in a second attribute, I've configured grade. If I go look at the prompt for the grade, that one is defined as such, where grade on a 1 to 10 scale how well the following, and this is my attribute, adheres to a specific methodology. This is a lookup, which is going to be a new lookup that is being introduced in 16.2.3. This lookup will be configurable, and let's look at that lookup. So if I go into Studio, where I can see my lookup itself, so here I am in Clarity Studio. I've already navigated to under administration my lookups, and I have filtered for the lookup called methodology. And I can see that there is a new lookup called Concierge grading methodology. If I navigate inside, I can see all its ID and information, but it is a static lookup. And out of the box, we are shipping with all of these methodologies. However, you're not required to keep all of these. You can deactivate any one of them or add a new one. Whichever one that you add then will become available when you are configuring the prompt. You can use any one of these for the individual attribute, which means different attributes can have different methodologies. All right, so if I now go back out to my prompt, so here is the same lookup values that is getting displayed. Now let's look at the Clarity Concierge functionality in action. So for that, I am going first into my project. So let's look at how the sub-object will work. So I am in the Clarity projects. I'm going to go into a project called Digital Banking User Experience. And in here, I'm going to go into tasks. And I'm going to go into a specific task called authentication and security. In here, as you remember, I have configured the Clarity Concierge for the requirements attribute, and that's why it now has the Concierge action button. Quick pointer that if you notice that this action button is slightly different from the previous version, because now based on the actions you have configured, the options within the AI action will be then made available in here. So for my requirements, which is the attribute under my sub-object, I had configured generate and revise. So that's why since there is no text, I have the option to only generate content. Right? Before I do that, let's also populate, because I had said that use the context of guidelines. So I'm just going to populate something in the guideline, which is use SSO and multi-factor authentication. That's just my very simple guidelines that I'm going to pass, that when I am working on authentication and security, that's my guideline. So let's see what should be my requirements. I can go ahead and say generate my content. And in this case, it has created a good list of content passing the information for my investment, my project. and passing the information that it needs: single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, strong password, and so forth. If I wanted to revise, I can now go back into AI actions, and you can see now the option to revise content has come up because there is already data in this field, and because I have allowed revision also as an action against in this, I can now perform the revision action. All right. Next, I'm going to go into my parent. So I have configured the same for my custom investment type called business capability. So here I am in my CITs, and under there I have business capability. When I navigate in there, I'm going to go navigate to maintain system uptime. And in here, I had two attributes that I had configured. The first one was the lean canvas, and you can see that this one already has the data, and I have the AI actions, so I can revise that content if I want to do so. And the second one is mission, was the attribute that I've configured to only do grading. And in that case, when I go into my AI action, I can see grade content is the only option available. I have configured it to grade based on a specific methodology, which is the critical path. So I'm going to go ahead and ask it to grade. If I have already graded this specific content in the past, then it'll first show me that existing grade. So if I click on grade content, it pops up in the bottom right here, and it essentially shows me my previous grade. So since I had already graded this attribute, it tells me the grade. If I had not graded that attribute, it would go ahead, grade it, and generate that grade and display it for me exactly the same method as I did, which is by going to the action and saying grade content. The reason why I know this is old grade is because I have my last updated date populated, and it's telling me that this was graded on July 29th, and it that time gave me a grade 7 out of 10. If I'm not going to make any change, I can just for seeing how it works, I can go ahead and tell it to revise my grade. Now, I've not made any change, but I'm just going to go ask it to revise the grade. It'll again look at my content, and then it comes back and tells me you're still 7 out of 10. It did give me an updated date that it just did the revision. It tells me what is good, so at least there's some goods in my content that I populated, and then it also gives me guidance on what specifically could be improved, and it gives me some example on how I can improve it. I can close this and go back out, and anytime I want to come back and look at my grade again, it's the same action of going into AI action and then grade content, and it displays me the last grade that was done. So the last grade is always displayed to me, and I can always refresh it. So that's how the new grade and the refreshing of the grade functionality works using Clarity Concierge. And that concludes our demo. Thank you everyone for watching this section. Thank you.